Right, so Dan Wootton, we're back to him again. A man who is to journalism what Keir Starmer is to left-wing politics. As I mentioned the other day, he's been accused of allegations of catfishing by independent media outlet Byline Times, the culmination of a 3-year investigation on their part into Dan, according to them acting as a media agent called Martin Branning in order to coerce sexually explicit or suggestive material out of celebrities, friends and work colleagues even. Frames a man who has been vociferous in his attacks on the BBC's Huw Edwards in an uncomfortably, for him, similar light. And arguably, there's a lot more on Wootton than there is to the Huw Edwards story, because Byline have only released one part of their investigation thus far, with a mind to have released the second part by now as well. But they haven't yet done so for reasons I shall go into. For one, Wootton has, predictably, gone to the lawyers. He's maintaining he's innocent, and of course, if he is, why wouldn't he? But Byline is known for its caution. They haven't often been caught out in the past for jumping in with a story before the due diligence and checks have been done. And given this is a 3-year investigation leading up to them going public with it, you can imagine they've done all of that this time. Still, Wootton has gone on GB News, a station that criticised the BBC to hell and back for not suspending Edwards over the allegations about him having not suspended Wootton themselves in light of his, you will notice. And he spelt out his position to what passes for his audience in his opening monologue. So he said, I, like all humans, have made errors of judgment in the past, but the criminal allegations made against me are simply untrue. I would like nothing more than to address these spurious accusations. I could spend the next 2 hours doing so, but on the advice of my lawyers, I cannot comment further. So he's lawyered up. Who are the lawyers you've already hired then, Dan? How much are they costing you? Are you even paying for them, or are you employers? The reason I ask is because Dan has launched a crowdfund to pay for his legal fees. He wants you to part with your cash to help him fight against accusations he's been a catfish, so that he can, in his own words, be able to keep fighting for you. That'll be the day, Murdoch boy. Well, he's stated on his crowdfunder that a hard left blog is on a deranged campaign of harassment to destroy him financially, mentally and professionally, but with your help, they will not succeed. Byline Times has eschewed all journalistic, legal and moral practices to publish a series of defamatory and untrue claims as part of a highly politicised witch hunt to cancel and deplatform him. So far, at time of writing, he's convinced enough people to part with just shy of £24,000 of his £150,000 target, the daft sods. So who are the lawyers he's paying for all of this then? It's Miss Conderea, of course. It's them again. Definitely not cheap, though. Keir Starmer once wanted to go and work for them whilst being in Corbyn's shadow cabinet and was blocked by him from doing so. Is it a case of, if you can afford to hire these guys, why are you crowdfunding? Or, oh, you've decided to engage these very expensive lawyers that you evidently cannot afford. Why not try a cheaper option instead of grifting for people to pay the bill for you, kind of thing? Either way, it's risible. Right, anyway, let's go into what he said in his claims on his crowdfunder. Let's shred some of this. Like all humans, he'd made errors of judgment in the past, eh? Well, it just so happens Byline got another piece out just the other day talking about one such error of judgment, or perhaps we should call it 6, where he was accused of 6 counts of bullying against colleagues when he was working at Murdoch's scumrag. Allegations there range from, again, claims of sexual harassment, but also constructive dismissal and age discrimination. In one case, a senior member of the scum team went to a boardroom meeting with a knife with the intention of slashing his own wrists in front of an executive who had sided with Wootton, which resulted in an apparent 6-figure settlement, though this wasn't made till the person in question was literally at the steps of the tribunal. Although Byline have named nobody in these cases, at least one was apparently left feeling suicidal, another suffered stress-inducing hair loss, and others leaving their jobs too. So if true, if there is substance to Byline's allegations, and they are just allegations, let's just remind people, these are allegations they are putting, then much of this ought to be a criminal matter, you would imagine. Further to those Byline have themselves alleged in their expose, and what a sewer of a place to work the scum must be, not just in terms of what they produce, but the culture allegedly going on within their offices that people evidently felt unable to complain about. That's certainly how it appears to me, at any rate. The crowdfunder has been accompanied by begging emails being sent out, apparently, which read, "This has been the worst week of my life, but I have to fight these disgusting smears against me. I wouldn't ask for your help unless I was desperately in need. If you can please support my crowdfunder, it will go entirely on my legal fees to fight Byline Media, which is on the most sick and twisted campaign to push me over the edge. I know it's a big ask, but please share this on your social media and with many friends as possible. Trust me that this is a campaign to see me cancelled and destroyed. It's chilling. I really do need your help. Please. Apparently one person who got this email said, I haven't heard from Dan in years. The fact he messaged me, and presumably many like me who he's not got any ongoing relationship with, makes him look both guilty and desperate. Now, Wootton has accused Byline of being a hard left blog too, but then everybody to the left of GBB's is hard left. There's no medium ground there, and it certainly isn't that. If Byline is a bunch of lefties, then that must make GBB's state-sponsored propaganda then. Some of Byline's staff came from the right-wing Spectator as an example, and its founder Peter Jukes is no lefty, having joined in on plenty of Corbyn bashing as a for instance. Not that Corbyn was anything other than the normal left. So it's a nonsense argument. It's right-wingers getting held to account, and they're squealing like stuck pigs about it, as they always do. Arrogance and self-entitlement. All the harm he's alleging is being done to him has been done to others, according to those speaking to Byline too. So it's in rather poor taste if the accusations prove to be true, and the threat of legal action is making Byline back down either. As for the calling of Byline a blog, well, they produce a hard-print newspaper and have their own TV channel, so they're very much a news publication and television media, and it's tiresome when mainstream outlets put down independent ones in a lazy attempt to discredit a rival they look down their noses at, basically. They're also regulated, far more so than any publication Wootton's ever worked for. So I wonder if Dan has made a complaint to impress about them. More, as I said, more regulated than any outlet he's ever worked for, because they're all ipso, which means they mark their own homework essentially, and then press are all voluntarily Leveson compliant. Everybody who signs up to Impress has to be Leveson compliant. It keeps themselves at a higher level of scrutiny. Byline have also taken a swipe, it would seem, at who Wootton is crowdfunding through, a site called Democracy 3. Byline in a tweet have said if they choose to crowdfund themselves, they'll be using the more well-known and recognisable Crowd Justice site, where the fund is ring-fenced and can only be controlled by a registered lawyer. And it seems a valid point, since Democracy 3 is not a bespoke justice campaign crowdfunder, but is a more general one. Therefore, the restrictions that Crowd Justice would have regarding what the money can be used for don't necessarily apply at Democracy 3. Now, Wootton can say it is for his legal fees and he wouldn't use it for any other purpose, and maybe that is absolutely true, but he's not actually restricted to using it just for that. So how do you know it will be? Finally, there's been some shenanigans aimed at Byline as well, a couple of security issues. There's been a hacking attempt made on their computers following the initial revelations about Wootton's alleged activity, and that's what has delayed the next part of their coverage on this story until next week, as they conduct a security review, which seems strangely coincidental. Even more so when the staffer who alerted the team to the hacking attempt later had blood smeared all over his car. Both incidents have been reported to the police as a result. But in addition to that, other publications reporting on what Byline are uncovering have also been sent a letter by Wootton's lawyers to put them off follow-up reporting. Now, this is what they call a SLAP. That's SLAP with 2 Ps, standing for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. It's a gagging order, basically. It's to scare people into shutting up or we'll sue you too kind of thing. There's a whiff of desperation in the air when that sort of thing comes out. It's not coming from Byline, who are not backing down. The story will roll on some more, and, well, we'll keep an eye on it, won't we? Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Meanwhile, check out this recommendation here, a catch-up on the story of Wootton so far, if you will, if you're not fully caught up on things yet. Hundreds of other videos available if you are, though, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.